The night of December 2nd, 1984 will remain etched in our country's memory. On that horrific night, deadly methyl isocyanate gas leaked from the Union Carbide India Limited pesticide plant in Bhopal, claiming over 20,000 lives and leaving lakhs severely disabled. Abdul Jabbar, who was 28 then, lost his mother, father, brother, and himself suffered lung fibrosis and lost 50% of his vision. On November 14, 2019, he passed away after fighting for justice for the victims and survivors for close to 3 decades. With the Government of India awarding this Bhopal gas tragedy activist the Padma Shri posthumously, let's take a look at his lesser-known story. Abdul Jabbar's journey began by taking the injured to the local government hospital for treatment while assisting in the process of taking dead bodies away for their post-mortem following the world's worst industrial disaster. 3 years later, in 1987, he started the Bhopal Gas Peedit Mahila Udyog Sangathan, an advocacy group for the victims, survivors and their families, conducting organized demonstrations, seeking not merely allowances and compensation but also employment opportunities. His first campaign slogan was the famous "Khairat nahi rozgar chahiye" for the victims and survivors depending on their individual capacity for work instead of mere rations. A narrow victory of sorts came in 1989 when the government reached a meager $470 million settlement with Union Carbide, which the Supreme Court agreed with, besides recognizing only 105,000 victims for compensation. More than a decade later, however, the same court ordered the government to disburse a further Rs 1,503 crore and admitted that there were over 570,000 claimants who were to be compensated. For more than 3 decades, Jabbar went around conducting protests and filing court petitions seeking greater medical rehabilitation for victims and the prosecution of local Union Carbide officials. If Jabbar and his like didn't make all that noise, many of the victims and survivors would have gotten nothing. He also started a skill development center for those suffering from serious medical ailments. Beyond these Herculean efforts, however, Jabbar ensured that the public's memory of the horrific incident remains fresh and alive. Every Saturday, he used to organize weekly meetings to keep the victims going. The Bhopal gas tragedy is one of the darkest chapters of post-independent India. Generations have been scarred by it. Till the day he breathed his last, Jabbar continued to fight for better compensation, medical, environmental and economic rehabilitation for the victims and survivors. We as a country must remember and never forget his tireless effort to get justice for the worst industrial tragedy victims and their kin.